Traders, what's going on? Kyle Fisher. It is 8:30 Eastern, the 9th of November, day after the election. Holy crap! What a what a whirlwind of a lot of stuff going on. So obviously, Trump is president. At 11:30 last night, Dow futures are down 600 points. They rally a little bit and minus 300, back to down to 400. Opened the day at 9:30 Eastern. I think they were down 250. Finished the day at the close plus 256. I think any concerns of whether or not Trump is going to be bad for the economy in the short term, I think have been answered on the close. Look, we are now testing prior highs from the breakout point, or from the resistance point, I should say. Pretty predictable in the sense, well, excuse me, let me back up. We predicted the downfall from the 18,500 range. I did not predict such strong volume today. 653 million shares traded, huge spike. So obviously, that speaks volumes to where people think the country, or excuse me, the market could head with a Trump presidency. You're starting to see a cross of the 13 and 20 EMA. Every time we get into overbought territory here, we more or less trade there for 2.5, 3 months. That's been the pattern this year. So I would expect a breakout. Honestly, I think we're going to break through the resistance point here. Let's try and get some price labels on this so you guys can see it. So 18,668, that's the high. We tested it today, a little bit below it, 18,650. This is the first time I'm looking at this chart for the day, so it's interesting because, I think we could definitely break to new all-time highs, which is obviously pretty fantastic. Looking at the SPX, similar story, although not as large of a rally, but volume again was significantly higher. So I think we see new highs here. So I'm going to continue to scan now for longs. I know it seems like I'm flip-flopping on where we were, but I don't think anyone really predicted the reaction in the market today based on where futures were less than 24 hours ago. So with that, we entered a new position in scene. If you've been with us for even a short amount of time, you've known that we've locked in a 7% long-term trade in scene. I think I held it for 4 months, 5 months. It wasn't ideally what I want, but the fundamental story is pretty nice. So let's zoom in a little bit. Well, first things first, when you see the uptick here back in June, you see the cross of the EMAs, would have been an ideal play to go long, right around 650. You would have saw oversold territory where we would have closed. That's roughly $3-4 on a $6 stock, so that would have been a nice 50% play. I think we're going to see something similar again now. Starting to make that move back up, seeing the rally both in RSI and Williams. The one thing that's concerning is obviously you're going to hit resistance when you see reversal patterns like that. And when we zoom in here, you'll get a nice sense of what's going on. And obviously the 13 and 20 EMA are going to be very strong areas of resistance. That said, the volume is starting to tick up. And, if you look back, you saw nice volume spikes, in the trend from 6 to 9. I think this might be the beginning of the pattern, a little preliminary like it was back here, but nonetheless, I think this is going to start the uptrend back to 9. That's the initial target. So we went long, I think, in the 790s. So obviously we're at a 2% loss right now, but that's not too concerning. The downside, right now, 725 to 7, the low of the reversal here would probably be where I would look to exit. But right now, the earnings call was decent, nothing crazy yet. They made optimistic projections, if you will, comments on the production turnaround. They're going to ramp things up. They're pressuring their operations people to ramp things up, but they just haven't seen the influx in sales. It's obviously a turnaround story here. So technically, looking for $2, $1.50, maybe $2.50 a share, where we'll look to sell again. But the pullback here was expected. We locked in, like I said, 7%, I think, in this area. and then it just dropped. The drop here was the release of, I think they closed an outstanding lawsuit liability, I think for $10 million bucks. You can view that as one of two things. One, it's off their balance sheet. Well, it's still on their balance sheet. They have a payable open, so they haven't paid it yet in cash. But nonetheless, it's baked into the stock price. So that's behind them is how you would look at that from a positive standpoint. So again, new entry here. Want this to break through the 20 and the 13 EMA. The 200 EMA, even though I'm not showing it here, is right around 825. Actually, frankly, I might as well just show it. Yeah, so no coincidence whatsoever that we closed or we hit the high of 829, which is right at the 200-day moving average. That's why I keep using these moving averages, because it's not coincidence that we hit that high and we reversed. So, we're going to have to baby step it up, through the 13 first before we make a continuation through these resistance points. It probably stair steps up here, just like it did here, where you saw these up days 3 or 4 days back, then a new high. So it's going to do that again. This isn't just going to be a straight shot back to 10. So nonetheless, another long-term play for us. On a percentage of portfolio basis, I did a larger position in this, higher than I usually do, just because it's a fundamental story as well as a technical. So the holding period is probably going to be a little bit longer than usual. Switching gears, EXEL, a monster for us. Just love this play. We went long on the reversal here, the break of the 13 EMA. The story behind the rally today, unless there's something going on that leaked, which I couldn't find, and what I mean by that is there any type of M&A, a buyout, a merger, maybe that leaked, but I don't think so. I think that the large volume spike in here today, the 15 million shares, that's pretty huge. And sorry about that. The story there is really that typically bios and pharma rally on Republican-based political parties. And the logic really is, among many other things, but the Republicans typically have a very strong support of the pharma industry. Democrats usually try to intervene vis-a-vis Obamacare, vis-a-vis any of the things they try to interject from a government level, whereas Republicans are more hands-off, so that's sometimes used as bullish or viewed as bullish. Frankly, I don't care. We're up 22% in this in less than a day or two, so I don't care what the reason is, frankly. We're testing, obviously, or I think about to test the high here, 1558. If we took a step back and we look at this from the yearly chart, we're at our target, so frankly, I think we potentially could sell tomorrow. I may put in a stop limit just to protect and lock in a profit. That said, when we made similar patterns here like we have before, and you saw us break through resistance, we traded in overbought territory for 6 months, and the stock went from 5 to 15. The key indicator here was when the 13 and 20 crossed, and it just took off. Frankly, the pullback here is people basically saying, okay, now again, I don't know anything fundamentally about this, so just psychology-wise, huge rally for half the year. People are going to take profits up into the election. The election was not what people expected. Now you're baking in more or less Republican support, not just in the stock, but in the general sector overall. And I think we could see 20, honestly, in this. So I'm going to watch this very closely, but massive spikes in volume over the last 6 months where this took off. Another massive spike today. So we're up 22% in this, another big winner for the month. Let's just kind of see how this plays out, frankly, tomorrow morning. You will know if I'm going to input a limit order. I will alert that to you and what price I'm doing it at. So you'll see all that if I want to do that. So no worries there in terms of what I'm going to do. Looking ahead, I ran the scans a little bit ago, obviously just looking for longs for the time being. So I haven't gone through these yet. So let's start to go through them. So LXU. I'm not going to be surprised if the majority of these that we see are going to be pharma or biotech, just with the rally that we just talked about. So looking at this, below the 200-day moving average is not something I typically like, but we are starting a nice reversal. Last time we did that, we saw a downtrend here, reversal, somewhat of an ascending triangle pattern here, and it popped. So I'm going to add this to the watch list. This could be a nice play for us. One thing I'm slightly hesitant on is the fact that we kind of have made a significant move already, but nonetheless, it's something I'm going to take a look at further. So adding LXU to the watch list. Let's look at CERS, CERS. Alright, so don't like this. A gap today for starters. I don't like gap plays unless I'm playing an intraday pattern. Second, too much resistance, too close. So 30 cents to get us to the 200-day moving average. It's not worth it. Conversely, going back to the one play we were just looking at, the 200-day moving average is sorry about that. I had a little technical difficulty with the battery. What I was saying is that the upside here is pretty significant. Obviously, you're talking, $4.50 a share upside to the 200-day moving average. So I will add this to the watch list. Continuing down. All right, I'll look at these two, but I can already tell from the chart they probably already made significant moves. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is nice that Halo here broke through again. Biotech broke through the 200-day moving average, but it already really made its move, so I'm not looking to go along that. PGNX probably did the same. So what I'm going to do is, again, looking at this chart, or excuse me, the scan, is I'm going to add in some criteria here to look at it a little bit differently. I'm pulling stocks from 10 to 20. So logic being, let's try and look at and focus on companies that are a little bit larger on the market cap. Alright, don't like Solar Edge, that trends to shitty. Alright, so let's look at Watt. Alright, I like this. I like this for several reasons. Nice uptrend, pulled back, held the 200-day moving average. Seeing the reversal here through those two indicators. Wow, I like this a lot. Alright, so the only downside, let's zoom in real quick. Gosh, I have no idea why my internet is so slow. So this actually opened down on the day and then rallied up. That's why you're seeing the unique red candle set up there. So it's still closed down, but nonetheless, I like the pattern. So the gap here is a little concerning, going from 13 and change, up to 14. So maybe that fills, but nonetheless, I still like the overall trend. So this will be added to the watch list, again, along with the LVU. So that's enough to watch going into tomorrow. One thing I still am watching, although it's a gold play, and it's probably not the way we want to go with the market that's uptrending and breaking out. But still watching this. The price action here and the volume hasn't been too great. It's a penny stock, so again, it's something we'd have to have very, very tight stops with. So I don't think I'm going to go long this week as long as the market is rallying. But we have enough on the table in terms of those two plays that we're going to look and watch for. One thing that I was actually shocked off the watch list that this just tanked was Smith & Wesson. Very, very odd considering the NRA connection to Trump that this would tank. I didn't research if something happened, so there could be a logical explanation to this. But intuitively, it just didn't make sense when I saw it this morning. Gap down completely, 4 or 5 points, which is very odd. You would expect a Republican candidate who is supported by the NRA and a gun manufacturer to play well off of that news, but it didn't. So, is what it is. We're not in it. Again, EXEL up 22%. I still think there's more upside. And Scene, we're in again, slight 2% loss for the time being, but not concerning yet. So if there is going to be a stop limit in EXEL, I will let you know just to lock in some profit. So again, we will talk soon. If you have questions per the normal course of business, shoot me an email. I'm happy to respond and walk you through anything you want. So we will talk soon. See you guys.